Guys, this is the weekly media availability with offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Jake Spavital prior to Saturday's regular season finale against UCLA at the Rose Bowl. We'll go ahead and get questions started with Jake Curtis from Cal Sports Report.
Jake, Justin suggested that Javian Thomas has a pretty decent chance of playing this week. How surprising is that to you?
Yeah, that is. It's pretty surprising. Unfortunately, I've kind of been a part of some of those scenarios before in my coaching career, and that those kids get rattled from an experience like that. And I just think the way that everybody's handled Javian, and with Coach AT and all of the support that he's had, I think it's just kind of gave him a very a comforting feeling of just coming back at his own discretion, and he wants to be back. This game means a lot to him. He was making such great progress to that point, and unfortunately that event occurred, and that kind of scares a lot of people at times. But Javian, he's a resilient guy, man, and I think just the culture that we have around here and how everybody's very just comforting and supporting him, that he's kind of easing his way back into it. So we'll see where he goes, but it's just really good to see him running around out there after a scare like that.
All right, we'll go to Jeff Ferrato.
Hey Jake, can you talk about the challenge facing your run game this week? You guys have run the ball real well, but I don't think they've given up a 100-yard game to a running back this year, and they've only given up 3 rushing touchdowns all season. How good are they, and what kind of challenge is it for you guys?
I appreciate the reminder there, Jeff. It's they're a talented defense. It is, and how we've always had success offensively is establishing the run game, and that's always going to be an emphasis, and we've talked a lot to the team already about just the challenge that we face, because I do believe this is one of the more dynamic defensive fronts out there in the country. I think they're very good. What makes them really special in my mind is that they stop the run so well, and they get you in passing downs, and that's where they really take off, is that they're very good at being disruptive in the pass game. I think they're leading the country roughly, or just top 10 in hurries and sacks and just disruption of the QB, but it all stems from their run defense. So we've got to establish the run, because that's going to get us some more efficient downs, because if you get in those long scenarios with these guys, that's when they pin their ears back and they come get the quarterback.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, we'll go back to Jake Curtis.
Yeah, at the expense of sounding immodest, I guess, the offense has been more productive. Why do you think that's true this season, and who deserves the credit?
I think everybody deserves the credit. It's a team game, and I think we've done a really good job throughout the course of the year. We've had some unfortunate injuries. We've had a lot of moving parts with different positions, and I think we've always put our guys in the best, situation to have success. You look at all the injuries at running back, but you still have a healthy Jaden Ott. We've played 3 quarterbacks. We've had a couple injuries up front that we moved the guys around. Our receiver position has had injuries through fall camp, and we're moving those guys around. And we've played games in 12 personnel. We played games in 11 personnel. We've done a lot of spread games. We've done a lot of heavy set games, and I think it's just kind of us as a staff getting together and our players buying into the success that we've had. And every week is kind of a new adventure on what type of game plan we're going to have, on the challenge that we face. And I think we're good at understanding our deficiencies and understanding what we're good at. And we try to do, eliminate a lot of the stuff that, is ran throughout the week or just throughout the season, and just really kind of focus it in on what we're good at. And I think we've done a really good job at mixing up the presentations, and I think these guys are just starting to have a really good understand of how our offense works. My experience in the past is, year one is always kind of an up and down deal, and you're trying to move and shake as best you can. You're figuring out your personnel, and they're figuring out the coaches, and when you kind of get halfway through the season, you continuously get better, and then when you get into year two even takes off even more, because they're so comfortable with what we're coaching and what we're doing. But I think the credit goes to everybody, because I think everybody's had their moments as a player, and I think as a coaching staff, we've done a really good job at just trying to change up the varieties of what we do.
To what extent does the improved offensive line play a part?
Yeah, I think the O-line is playing at a high level. Like again, like we don't ask them to do a lot, and Coach Blesh does a great job at getting them to play hard, and they have a really good understanding of what needs to be accomplished. They rep it, they get really confident in it, and we try to keep them out of like certain scenarios. And I've been enjoying just watching those guys grow as a unit and the confidence that they have, and it's just they're a funny group, man. Like when Driscoll scored the touchdown versus Washington State, I thought we were going to get a celebration penalty because the entire O-line ran out on the field, and I just thought it was, it's just fun watching that group grow and them continuously get better. And I think the O-line's playing at a high level. I think Coach, Burl Toller is doing a great job with those receivers. Coach Plow's doing a great job with the tight ends. I think it's just a good mix. And then obviously AT, who's had the biggest challenge at running back, with all the moving parts there. But we just show up and we get to work, and I think everybody is just improving on a daily basis.
All right, we'll go to that was Thomas Dunn, right? Correct.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else with questions? Go ahead and put it in the queue now.
All right.
All right. We'll go to Maria Koladova from Rivals.
I think Thomas.
Yeah, I think Thomas was first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Thomas.
All right, don't worry, Kelly, you're all good. Jake, when it comes to, you talk about mixing and matching personnel and things like that, with the terror of a UCLA defensive line that you guys have to face, how do you find the balance between telling Fernando, hey, we got to get the ball out quick with screens, or calling max protect to let these plays develop down the field?
Yeah, I think you just turn the tape on, and I think as a quarterback, you got to get the ball out of your hand versus these guys. Like my whole thing is just try to stay the course, stay on track. I think when you get into negative situations or playing behind the chains, you see just some exotic looks of what they do from a defensive perspective up front. Like you're going to see, Latu play every single position on the defensive line. And like that kid is pretty special. And obviously I think he's a first-round draft pick in my mind. But we got to keep him out of those exotic looks. So we got to stay on track. We've got to be able to get the ball out. We can't be sitting in the pocket too long. We've got to establish the run game. Like again, if we get into passing downs, that's playing into their advantage because I think they're very dynamic. This is the best front we've seen all year, and we got to try to eliminate them being able to be exotic up front. So we got to stay the course and stay ahead of the chains and stay on track.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now we'll go to Maria.
Thanks. Can you talk a little bit about Ashton Streater and about how you're hoping to kind of use him maybe this week?
Yeah, Ashton, he's going to be utilized each week. I had a big third down pickup, versus Stanford, which was awesome to see, But, just talking about that running back room, Jade Knott, like he carried the load, God, I think he played well over 80 plays, which is pretty crazy, for that game. But, that's hard to do as a starting running back, and we're going to plan on Ashton, getting a significant amount of reps, like him and Justin Williams-Thomas. Those guys are going to have to step up and rise to the occasion, and they will, and they're ready for it. Ashton's been here a long time, played a lot of ball, making that big play in the big game. You have a lot of confidence in him and what he can do, and it's going to be fun watching him go in the Rose Bowl. It's his moment to shine, and I think he's ready for it. Thanks, Maria.
All right, we'll go back to Jeff Ferraro.
Jake, it's a question I intended to ask Justin, but I forgot. I wonder if you and he have had conversations about Tron Griselle perhaps needing a scholarship at some point.
Yeah, like I haven't talked to that extent, but yeah, the production that Tron's been playing with, right now he's one of our top productive offensive players. It's he's gonna be taken care of. Like I believe. Obviously that's a coach discussion, but I think we all see it. The kid's playing at a high level. He's very confident, and what a story. He's a big game legend in my mind. 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards receiving. Just that's a special game for him, and I just love that kid. I love how he operates. I love how he shows up. He's got a great family. He's got a great head on his shoulders. He's just going to keep continuing to do great things for us here at Cal.
On a totally different topic, what's the ideal Thanksgiving meal for you?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, like, you got to have the turkey. You have to. But I'm more of a honey-baked ham guy. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just love the honey-baked ham. So, like, I'm a big into that. Big into the dinner rolls. Right, and like it's like you have your typical Thanksgiving meal. You know, you have to try everything that's on the table. You know, just all the casseroles and the stuffings and the gravies and mashed potatoes, all that stuff. But it's all about that honey baked ham, and then having those like little like sandwiches with the dinner rolls like later in the night, like after you have the meal. Like that's the key to a successful Thanksgiving kind of, you know, lunch and dinner.
Sounds like you got it figured out. And where will you spend this Thanksgiving? What, are you at home, or what do you do?
I'll be at home. Yeah, I get to hang out with the kids. Probably, I got a 5-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl, so we get to hang out with them, play some catch with them in the yard, and you know, just get to hang out and chill with them. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Not long before that 5-year-old boy will be wrestling you for the drumstick, right?
Oh yeah, that's you know, it's funny because I put him in jujitsu now, you know, and so he's 5 and he thinks he can take me right now, so I might have to kind of show him the ropes a little bit.
Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.